Should I use the microphone? I don't think I need it.
About a week ago, I decided to time myself with drawing to see if it would help me with efficiency.
I'm a little nervous. I don't know how well this angle will work, but I guess we'll find out.
I realized a couple things, but the main thing that I realized was that I am getting way too carried away with the pastel tools and the darkness just everywhere. I like darkness, well, okay. I like contrast a little too much, and it kind of makes things look 2D. As you can see on this one, I use a lot of darkness, a lot of pastel tool usage, a lot of compressed charcoal.
I have my natural charcoal and compressed charcoal here. Kneaded eraser that's kind of used a little bit. I need a new one, and pastel tool that I'm gonna use up for these small drawings. If I even use it. I don't even know if for the small drawings I need it.
The timed thing that I did last week was 6 seconds, 60 seconds, 6 minutes, 60 minutes.
The numbers may seem a little arbitrary. I've seen a bunch of like 1 minute, 10 minute, 1 hour things. I don't know why I decided 660, 660. Anyway.
It was one of those half asleep thoughts that I had in the middle of the night. So I took 3 small pieces of paper and I did the first one 6 seconds, 60 seconds, 6 minutes, and then the 60 minutes one I did on this big paper.
I have this charcoal pad here. It's 9 by 12. It's the same exact paper that I use for my big drawings. It's just tiny.
But this is after 120 minutes. I did stop after 60 minutes and I took a picture.
And yeah, I'm gonna draw Jason Bourne. I'm gonna do a portrait because those are the easiest for me, and it's not just any regular portrait, it's of Jason Bourne.
I know I was watching a lot of Matt Damon movies a couple weeks ago, but there's this one scene in the Bourne Supremacy where he's in an interrogation room and he's just looking down the whole time, and the look on his face is very intimidating. There was a shot that I was gonna do where he was looking down and the interrogator snaps in his face and he turns his head very slightly. And then towards the end of the scene, the interrogator gets a phone call. Obviously, Jason Bourne was planning stuff, and so he just like looks up at the guy right before he takes the interrogator out. To me, it's kind of like when there's a giant spider on the wall. It's very still, and it looks like it's minding its own business and not doing anything, but you don't want to get near it because then it'll flinch and then move up the wall like maybe a couple centimeters. If you move too much, or if you provoke it too much, it'll just book it somewhere where you'll never find it, or it'll jump on you, and that's no good. And that is the reason I chose to draw it.
I don't know, there are a few interesting things with this. I thought it would be fun. I don't even have a timer open yet. Alright, I'm gonna set a timer for 30 seconds because 6 seconds is not enough time to really breathe. Once it gets down to 6 seconds, I'm gonna actually start. In addition, 6 seconds is not a time to really look at the reference, so I'm gonna do that beforehand. I'm gonna probably have to break a little teeny piece off. I need my glasses. You see how dusty they are? You know what, maybe the glasses actually make it worse because everything's more blurry without them, so it kind of helps. I might start with the nose. Alright, you know, commit. This is 6 seconds, everybody. I have a 24-second preparation time. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's better than I thought it would turn out, if I'm being completely honest. You can still tell that it's a face, but you can't tell that it's this face. I don't know what I was expecting. The next one is 60 seconds. 5, 4, 3. No, please. Well, we got closer. Own your mistakes. It's not about drawing fast. It's just drawing the right things first. All right, now 6 minutes. 3, 2. for the real one. 60 minutes. Before I start, I was thinking about it. Here's the deal. After the timer's up, I'll stop, I'll take a picture. After that, I reserve the right to make any changes I want to until it's done. And if it's done after an hour, if I feel like it's finished, then that'll be fine. 10 seconds on the clock for prep. 5 seconds. Can I start? Yes, I can.
I reserved the right to fix anything that I wanted to fix. In retrospect, I noticed that I probably could have gotten away with a little less generally. And then I thought that I liked the darkness everywhere a lot more. But now that I look at the things that I've been doing lately, I've kind of noticed that I've been getting a little carried away with that whole darkness concept. Like with this one, there are a lot of dark shapes. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but I wonder what would happen if I toned it back a little bit. Like if I wanted something to fade out, instead of blurring it out on the edge, just make it lighter. I'm gonna do it again, but this time I'm not gonna time myself. I'm gonna do it like I've been doing all the regular drawings. I don't have to make everything exactly like the reference. I've tentatively decided I'm gonna try it out. If I have a shot from a movie that I want to draw and I want to do the environment and everything, I can do the environment, but I don't have to make it look exactly like the reference. I think if I'm going to use the pastel tools, it's going to be just the focal point and nowhere else. And same with the compressed charcoal. I'm going to try to be really efficient, and I'm going to compare it to this one, which took me about 2 hours, and see which one I like more. You know? Yeah, I want to practice efficiency. I actually really enjoyed doing the timed ones. I didn't get distracted in any way. Yeah, I just want to make it clean, and I want the darkest parts to be the focus. I don't want to make it really dark everywhere. So I'm gonna try it again. Anyway, before I waste any more time, I have notes. I finished the final draft of this drawing. I recorded something right after I had finished it, and I was pretty down in the dumps.
Why did I outline the left side of his face? I don't know.
I wasn't super happy with the way it turned out.
As far as likeness goes, the first one wins, in my opinion. But at least I fixed the 2D problem. There are a few things that I would fix, but that's for another day.
However, I stepped away for several hours, and
so this is one of those things where I'll probably go back after a couple hours and look at it again and like it more than I did immediately after I finished it.
I made a few adjustments off camera, like with the eye and the chin. Overall, I am actually very happy with the way it turned out.
But at least right now, I think it's my goodness gracious.
At first I didn't really like the outline on the left side of the face, or his right side. I toned it down a little bit, but in the end,
if I outlined his face with a lighter line, I think it would have been okay. It's just, it's so heavy. And I do remember I took art classes in junior high. One of the only things I remember is that the darker the line, the more it's brought forward. The fact that I drew that side of his face with such a dark line, I don't really have an opinion on it at the moment, besides I probably shouldn't have done it. Maybe I'll go back later and think something else.
I will say that it is probably one of my favorites that I've done so far. Let me just read my notes. I've noticed that I've been getting a little bit too carried away with pastel tools and compressed charcoal. It is kind of like painting, but I've been treating it a little too much like painting. And so instead of taking advantage of the texture of the paper, I've been smoothing it out a little too much.
But enough about the cons about the image. The drawing itself was okay.
And I've always been so afraid of outlines because I took some art classes in junior high, and I was always taught you never outline things. This is at least with pencil. We didn't really touch on charcoal at all. You never outline things, everything is a shadow. And I get that. So I've always been like super afraid of outlines, but I have seen a lot of drawings where things are deliberately outlined, and I've always kind of liked it. Not outlining too much, like I still think that the side of his face there is outlined a little too much.
Well, okay. It looks like a sketch. I actually like the sketch look. I do like how it doesn't look very 2D.
Because I was getting a little bit carried away with the pastel tools and the compressed charcoal, or just the darkness in general everywhere, it made it look a little bit cartoonish or flat, a little bit plastic. But this time I wanted to confine the compressed charcoal to just one spot, and the only spot that I used it on was the eye. Well, I used it a little bit on the nose and on the side of the face, just a little bit. The eye looks deeper. It pops out of the page more. It's not so in your face everywhere.
I don't like how his right eyebrow is just... I'll fix it.
This whole adjustment that I've made is very similar to when I drew the Hell Knight. I did mention in that video, there were a couple points where I could have just stopped. I got a little bit excited with the compressed charcoal towards the end. When I started adding it, I started with the mouth, and I was only going to use it for like the head and the upper body. And I did notice after I finished the drawing, and then I went back and looked at the time lapse, there were a few parts that I could have just left as is instead of putting compressed charcoal everywhere. Just having the Hell Knight fade into the paper rather than trying to make the background black. This was very similar. I decided to do that, even if it's a dark background, fading the subject into the paper because the paper is the background, not worrying about copying the reference exactly. When it's a portrait, I need to make it look like the person, but if it's like a shot from a movie, like the one from Hereafter, I can do the environment, but I don't have to make it a carbon copy of the picture. I can take some initiative, something I don't have a lot of experience in. I think that's something I'm gonna try doing a lot more. So like with this, in the reference, the wall behind him is all white. By all accounts, I could have just left the paper white. Well, it was kind of from a mistake because I was not very happy with that side of his face, and so I just blended it all, made like a body of charcoal, and then making his face pop out from the middle of it, which is kind of the opposite of what I was just saying a few minutes ago.
Even if it's a dark background, fading the subject into the paper because the paper is the background.
My point is, it's an example of not doing something exactly like the reference. That's an instinct that I ignored because I haven't studied anything. I'm so afraid of taking initiative or like improvising or making things different from the reference because I think that it'll look weird. Because I don't have the training, in my mind there's always a huge chance that I'll just make it look very strange. There are certain instincts, you know, like you just feel imbalanced. That's the case with a lot of these things, and so that's what I mean by instinct. I think I just need to follow my instincts. So now when you compare the two, you can see that now it's not so cartoonish. There's more depth in the eye. It's more textured, and it's more fun to look at. So, okay, the lack of this eye, I did that on purpose, but it was because I didn't like the way that the hint of the eye was showing up.
Yeah, I like that better. Okay. Well, the eye looks weird now, too. Hold on. Ow, I stubbed my toe.
The fun thing about this kind of thing, to me, is that if you squint, your brain kind of fills in where the eye is supposed to be. It's like a good story. You don't want everything spoon-fed or spelled out to you. Implications, at least in my opinion, are the best way to go. If there is room for interpretation, that's a lot more fun to me than just having a picture all spelled out. I mean, everything has its place, but having everything shown to you in every detail kind of flat to me. And it's the same with photography. I really like getting really close. I'm not a photographer, but I really like getting close up on a subject and then having everything blurred in the background. There's just a lot of depth in it, and you don't have to have everything in focus in order to understand what's going on. Same with the stories, the same with this, and so even though it might look weird at first, you can squint at it and have your brain fill in the blanks, like the eye goes here, instead of me telling you and risking it looking weird. The first iteration looks a little bit evil.
I didn't capture the facial expression as well this time. I think with the first one I actually made him look quite evil. This one it looks kind of just like a pose.
It looks a little too innocent, but it gets the job done. This was really fun for me because it taught me a little bit of how to be efficient. I had to sit and think about what I was gonna do before I actually did it so that I didn't get caught up in the really little details. I had to get the whole picture really fast. I mean, I'm not saying that 100% translated to this one or even the first one.
I think I'm forgetting how to like feel things out and everything because it's been so long. I need to switch that flip in my brain again. Flip. Yeah, I need to flip the switch in my brain.
Maybe the more I do it, the more efficient I'll get. In conclusion, I really like doing the timed stuff, and I think I want to do more of it.
I've drawn this picture 4 times, 5 times.
It's a good exercise for me. Slowly but surely, I'm learning new things, and I'm being reminded of things that I had learned 10 years ago, and so I think I'm gonna get there.
Until then, I will just move on to a different picture.